Do you ever have those moments where you're reading the Bible and suddenly something just clicks, which then leads to something else clicking, and then it just sort of snowballs from there, and suddenly everything just all comes together? Even if in hindsight it might seem a little bit basic at the end of it, but it's just, it never all just was there in one cohesive thought until that moment. Today was one of those moments. I was doing morning prayers with an app, and it's not an advertisement ad video, but an app called Time to Pray, which is really good. You get morning and evening prayers, and it audio reads out, and you can respond, and has scriptures, psalms. Anyway, it's beside the point. Not the point. So I was doing that, and the daily reading was from Deuteronomy 15, verses 7 to 11. And it said, basically, there's always going to be poor with you. Give to the poor, look after the poor. Open your hand and give to the needy, because they will always be on the earth. Which immediately then made me think of Jesus' words in Matthew 26 when he says, the poor you will always have with you. I was like, maybe that was just a very subtle reference back to Deuteronomy. And then I was thinking of that, it reminded me of the Didache in chapter 1, where it says, let your arms sweat in your hands until you know who you should give it to. And the Didache references is like this is a quote, but it's not from any direct source that we know of. But it has a sort of little link back to 2 Corinthians 9, verse 7, where Paul says, each of you must give as you've made up in your mind, not regretfully, but as a cheerful giver, which is sort of the same sort of line of thinking in the Didache of letting it sweat in your hands until you know who you want to give it to, or you should give it to. So it was just one of those little moments where one thing sparked another idea and thought, which then rolled into another, until suddenly all of these things connect together, and you've got Deuteronomy from centuries and centuries ago linking to something Jesus talking about in the New Testament, linking to an early church text speaking of similar things which tie back to what Paul writes about, and suddenly the whole thing becomes this nice cohesive message that is consistent across time of looking after the poor, giving to the needy, and loving your neighbor, basically. So yeah, I thought I'd share that. It was interesting, and maybe you found it interesting.